Ron Finley is what you would call a guerrilla gardener. Now, Ron Finley is from South Central LA, and what he does as a guerrilla gardener is plant seeds in places that are unorthodox. So on the side of the street is where he plants a lot of his food. And the reason for that is he was driving around in his neighborhood and he saw that the tomatoes had a certain coating on them, and that coating was used in workshop to use with cars and stuff. So that's not very sustainable. It's not healthy. And then you go to more affluent places, and he'd see they have a lot of readily available fresh produce. And he didn't like that. He didn't understand why his neighborhood wasn't able to get that produce. So he took it upon himself to plant food in the sidewalk. So right next to where you're walking, that's where his food, that's where his beans are, that's where he's planting all this stuff. And over time, he got big enough to where the city council, the LA council, since he's from South Central LA, the LA council didn't like what he was doing. And they wanted him to stop doing it. But he fought hard enough, he kept doing what he was doing, he stayed persistent, to where the legislation was changed, and now it was legal to just plant his food on the sidewalk, as it should be, because it's public property. You should be able to do what you want there. And the reason I'm bringing this to your attention is because green space should be, I guess, every neighborhood in the U.S. should be having an equal proportion of green space, regardless of their income bracket. And this pertains to the federal government, since we're talking about all 50 states. And the thing about all 50 states is the government needs to take a closer look at the dispersion of green space relative to race and income level. Now, lower income level areas will gain space for green use and access to larger national parks under this policy. And this is a problem because people need to be able to be in thriving communities, and that's mentally, spiritually, physically. And according to the ChicagoPolicyReview.org, access to public green spaces, including parks, nature preserves, forests, and community gardens, vary across racial and economic lines, where everything should be equal in a perfect world. Additionally, high income and high education correlate with high levels of green spaces. And these findings reveal that certain parts of the population are not able to obtain the benefits that come from being in an area with a lot of green space. Now, according to the Bloomberg.com, shares of Latino and African American residents are negatively associated with access to green space. So they're in these neighborhoods that they're in, they have a lack of green space. That's where the negative association comes from. And this plan will primarily be funded by the EPA, which is the Environmental Protection Agency. And it will be funded by the EPA by allocating funds to cities and neighborhoods, directly to cities and neighborhoods that meet a certain threshold. This threshold is an equation by researcher Shakina McKeely, and this equation is per capita availability of green spaces expressed as a total area of green space, in which is square meters, divided by the total population of the area. Now, we have our plan, we have why the problem is what it is. Now it's time to get into why this is such a great thing, why it's advantageous to have a higher abundance of green space in lower income areas and have that equate to level of green space in higher income areas. And according to EuropeJournalNow.org, the benefits of more green space is reduce the surface runoff. So when it rains, usually if there's no green space, it's not going to go to a soil bed. It's going to go straight to the sewers. It's going to go straight down the sidewalk, which is going to lead to cracking the sidewalks and just more dirty runoff. But if you have runoff that's going down, it's going to rain, right? And then your rain is going to get caught by a tree. It's going to get caught by the leaves on the tree. It's going to go down the tree and it's going to go into soil beds. That's going to promote more life, more biodiversity. And another benefit is reducing a heat island. And a heat island is just where there isn't a lot of shade cover. So the heat is able to penetrate the people and everything there in a greater deal of effect than if there were trees that were just providing a little more shade cover. Going back to Ron Finley, he also has a lot of benefits to more green space, and that's tightening your community, because if everyone's planting food, everyone is enjoying themselves in large parks, then you have a tighter community that knows themselves better and everyone else better. It soothes the soul. So it doesn't matter how traumatized a person may be or how hard a person may think they are, having a greater amount of green in their life, more nature in their life, is going to benefit them, even if it's in a minuscule way. And my last point that Ron touched on in his video called Guerrilla Gardener on YouTube is it increases the biodiversity, and when biodiversity is increased, the likelihood of an ecosystem to keep its health up is heightened. And this biodiversity also fosters curiosity and learning within children. So once you have a plant there, there's going to be pollinators at the plant, there's going to be caterpillars, there's going to be bees at this plant. That's a whole new world for someone who may have not been able to see those things in their natural environment. Thank you.